Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Bald Explorer Live. Let me get my microphone in the right place. That's always a good start. Lovely to be here again on another live. Hello to John F., to the lovely Julia, to Audrey Forbes. It's Friday, the 11th of September, and it's 4 o'clock. And I just need to find my... No, not my mask. My hanky. I just want to clean my glasses. I meant to give my glasses a quick wipe before we go live so that I can actually see the... there we go. So I can see the text. Right. We are reading The Lure of Sussex. I think I got the numbers slightly wrong on the part numbers on the subject line. So apologies if people were slightly confused. We're doing episode... we're doing part 5, as I've called them, recording 5. And we are going to wonderful Brighton on this one. I was thinking of changing the times again. I know we changed them about a couple of months ago. We started off, as you may remember, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when we had the COVID lockdown. Then I moved it back to 4 o'clock. And I think I had an email actually this morning in response to a podcast I put out that reminded me now that a lot of people are back to work. Not as many people are able to watch live. So I'm just trying to work out when the best time is. I could do these when I don't do the Vogue show, which would be Tuesdays and Thursdays. I quite like the fact that we do 5 in a row because it gets keeps the momentum going and we can remember. So I'm not quite sure. It was originally 9 a.m. Was it? It wasn't originally 9 a.m. in the morning. Couldn't possibly have been. We did it at 2, didn't we? We did it at 2. Anyway, I'm confused. So I'm not quite sure when to fit it in because I'm just trying to get more time in the day, especially when I get the van and I've got this base to go to places. So somebody had a great idea actually on the van thing to stop the break-ins, and that was to call it a COVID cleaning service. That might keep people away. Anyway, let's crack on. Wonderful Brighton. Brighton. Dr. Brighton. A joyous name in former days, expressive of frivolity and nights of festivity, and even to this day carrying an echo of wild revelry and nocturnal jazzing. But... an echo only, and so faint that I am almost persuaded that the wicked past of Brighton is only a legend. Yet it is a legend which flourishes and spreads wider every year. It started with that red-letter day in 1782 when George, Prince of Wales, first came to visit his uncle, who occupied a house in the Steine. He took a sudden liking to the town and straightway decided to settle there and ginger things up in the tranquil old village. That he did. That he did successfully is revealed by the protests of the town's pecksniffs, who sighed so often for the old quiet times. Julia says, I'm sure it was 9 a.m. and then we changed it to 2. Maybe we did. It's so long ago, I can't really remember. But you've got a better memory than I have. George, says a local journal of Victorian vintage, had brought gaiety, bustle and business, but he had also brought the vices of the fashionable life of the time. In a very few years, a sort of Vauxhall sprang up in the Promenade Grove. Here, dancing, drinking and gambling and all sorts of wild pleasures were carried on under the special patronage of the Prince, whose illuminated portrait adorned the outer gate with the legend "Brighton's Support" inscribed in letters of flame underneath. They were brave doings then at Brighton. Grand reviews on the Downs, sham boat fights out at sea, gala nights at the Grove, balls and feasts at the castle, fireworks in the Steine, while all the times raffling went on merrily at Gregory's library. Gregory had such persuasive ways with him that none could resist his solicitations, and he had often 1,000 names on his lists for half a guinea and guinea tickets. Brighton was becoming a very dissolute place about this time, and it was also becoming a very dear place. Someone, perhaps the moralist before referred to, publicly recorded his impressions of Brighton's changes in the following epigram. "Say why on Brighton's church we see a golden shark displayed, but that was aptly meant to be an emblem of its trade, nor could the thing so well be told in any other way. The town's a shark that lives on gold, the company its prey." He mentioned their balls and feasts at the castle. I don't remember there being a castle in Brighton. If anyone knows what that refers to, I'd be interesting to find out. James Cameron, the Lifestyle Channel. I thought what's happened, Mr. Cameron? I thought you were the Allotment Channel. Is this a different channel? Have you started up a second channel? What's going on? You're confusing me. How many channels do you have? I've got one, the English Channel, and it's pretty close to my door. What has Richard done to his poor nose? Oh, yes. Do you know that is a paper cut? That is a paper cut. I can't remember how I did it, but it was a little bit of paper that I was slid, I don't know, got caught on my glasses, slid on my nose and slipped it. And of course, it keeps bobbling up. And every time I move my glasses, I inadvertently knock it and it bleeds and then it scabs. Brighton Support lived a very shameless life among the inhabitants, but the gain they reaped made them quite indifferent to the approach. They were willing to pander to George's pleasures, whatever shape they might assume, and his open liaison with Mrs. Fitzherbert was certainly not the worst of them. But bless me, that's a very old story. Brighton should have lived down such imputations long ago. Is the Brighton of today the fast and naughty place that it is represented to be? I think not. It has acquired what we may call a prescriptive right to naughtiness, which will, I fear, survive, as already it has survived the inherent saintliness of the townspeople for the last 100 years. Every man will project a different picture of Brighton on the screen of his memory, some minute layer of his life. The other day I was turning over the leaves of London Society, a journal published in 1862, when I came across the following survey of Brighton's sights, and they were of interest today because they show how little the town's genius loci changes in 65 years. He uses that phrase genius loci quite a bit, which I gather is Latin. But what does it actually mean? Genius loci, L-O-C-I. Can somebody tell me what it actually means? That would be, it was a piece of cardboard you were messing about with that then thwacked the nose. Oh, yes, there you go. Thank you. The lovely Julia remembers I'm often messing about, apparently. Anyway, they are of interest today because they show how little the town's genius loci changes in 65 years. I like its gay and glittering parade. Yes, I'm sure its gay and glittering parade wasn't then gay pride, but of course it probably is now. I like its lofty cliffs and resonant shore. I like moonlight rambles on its handsome pier. I like Brill's baths and I dislike the pavilion. I like its jolting carriages and imploring boatmen. I like the amphibious attire in which so many of its male patrons disport themselves. I like picnics to the Devil's Dyke. I like to wander about the glorious downs. I like the old joke about its scarcity of trees. It has but one, a shingle beach. I like its concerts and its queer little theatres. In a word, I like Brighton. That, I think, is a quote from Brighton's Sights. And it's interesting that he used its queer little theatre for those that know Brighton. Lifestyle channel. A Genius Loci was the protective spirit of a place. It was depicted in religious iconography as a figure holding attributes such as cornucopia, pateria, what is that? An Ibatian bowl or snake. Oh, okay. Genius Loci. Cool. Paterns, says Morton. I don't know what paterns is referring to. Is that something I read that I misread? Brighton has added little to its sights since that was written. The town has become quick and vital and hurried. There are magnificent dance halls, cinemas and hotels. But the old Brighton still remains. It is the people who have changed. They have become restless and give one the impression of endeavouring to do several things at once, or of trying to think of several things at the same time. It is the spirit of King Jazz, the spirit which is leading the world to a great gate of something. What that gate is, I've never been able to define. Jazz is warm and red-hearted. It is the vocabulary of motion and forgetfulness. It is insistent and pursuing. Its speech is surely as flexible as that of the tongue. But whether its influence on modern life is beneficial or not, I cannot say. But in a world where the inevitable doom is always treading on the man's heels, it seems more pleasant to dance to the grave gaily than to accomplish the journey with a graceless shuffle. Yes, I think that's probably true, isn't it? It's more pleasant to dance to the grave gaily than to accomplish the same journey with a graceless shuffle. Have we all had a bit of a graceless shuffle? I'd like to think on occasions we do. But dance to the grave gaily is what you should do. Life at Brighton is like living in a novel by H.G. Wells. You find history and romance, cocktail girls and highbrows, mannish flappers and jazzy youths, crooks and counts, all wonderfully introduced into one great diorama of the streets. Everywhere you meet the strange characters you meet in Paris, London or New York. There are luxurious hotels, brilliant theatres, dainty restaurants, and a great glittering seafront, which makes its own business that of pleasure. There is a sense of space and sparkle about the town, which is hard to describe. To experience it, one must stroll along the King's Road on a really sparkling spring morning. All-enveloping light swings athwart the pavements, and the crowds move to the pulse of the sun. Here are gay colours, smiles, and persiflage. Hang on, what is this? Persiflage. What is it, and how do you pronounce Persiflage? Persiflage. Persiflage? I don't know. Paterns, hello chaps and chapesses, let's face the music and dance. All right, cool. Yes, I've lost my space. On this broad promenade, with the joyous feet whispering on every side, body and soul assume a felicity of impulse, and the heart seems to fill with bright romance, which is Brighton. Many years ago, Brighton commanded an affection for Richard Jefferies that not merely he never lost, but which held him and increased in all his later life. His eulogy of sunny Brighton is one of the most completely joyous things in his work. I don't think I've read that one. The wind, he wrote, seems to bring with it whole armfuls of sunshine, and to throw the warmth and light against you as you linger. The walls and glass reflect the light and push back the wind in puffs and eddies. The awning flutters. Light and wind spring upwards from the pavements. The sky is richly blue against the parapets overhead. There are houses on one side, but on the other open space and sea. And dim clouds in the extreme distance. The atmosphere is full of light and gives a sense of liveliness. Every atom of it is in motion. Let nothing check the descent of those glorious beams of sunlight which fall at Brighton. Watch the pebbles on the beach. The foam runs up and wets them. Almost before it can slip back, the sunshine has dried them again. So they are alternately wetted and dried. Bitter sea and glowing light, bright clear air, dry as dry, that describe the place. Spain is the country of sunlight, burning sunlight. Brighton is a Spanish town in England, a Seville. Very bright colours can be worn in summer because of this powerful light. The brightest are scarcely noticed, for they seem to be in concert with the sunshine. It is difficult to paint in so strong a light. Pictures in summer look dull and out of tune when this Seville sun is shining. Artificial colours of the palette cannot live in it. As a race, we do not seem to care much for colour or art, I mean in the common things of daily life, else a great deal of colour might effectively be used in Brighton in decorating houses and woodwork. Much more colour might be put into the windows, brighter flowers and curtains, more, too, inside the rooms. The sober hues of London furniture and carpets are not in accord with Brighton light. So wrote Richard Jefferies. This is all excellently true, save for the fact that the sun has been too often a truant in late of years. But Brighton cannot be blamed for that. If only the day be propitious, Brighton can show as much enchantment as any place in the world. The inconstant moods of sun, wind and sea combine together to conjure up the charm of 100 cities for us. There is no need to journey to Nice or Naples or even Coney Island. If you walk to the end of Palace Pier and look towards Kemp Town, you'll have the grandest view of any town on the south coast. This is, you may declare, a vague and overbold thing to say, but I do, and I am prepared to stand by it. From the pier, you may look back on Brighton as far as the bridge of a ship. You may look back on Brighton as if from the bridge of a ship. All there is of the stir of the town comes in distant bells and motor horns, clanging their sound just as the scenery moves according to the changes of the atmosphere. The chalk cliffs towards Newhaven shift as if enchanted, now near and plain, then removed and dim. The sea, widening, sapphire blue, or narrowing, green and grey, or before the storm, like quicksilver. The great houses of Sussex Square and Lewis Crescent drawing close, showing blue slates and deep red chimney pots, or all is thrust into pearly mist or brushed away as if the world reached no further than Arundel Terrace. Brighton lights tracing out long lines of street romances, or hidden by a blanket of smoke and mist which shuts off all life but the ship sirens hooting and screeching out on the swinging seas. How about that? There's a description of Brighton. Yes, light. So this weird word, perisflage, light and slightly contemptuous, mockery or banter. It's a lovely word. How is it pronounced? Seems like Brighton has always had a certain flamboyance, says Audrey. Yes, I think so. Funny conversation, says Morton Lewis. Graham Cass says, I remember the old A23, cycled it many times to Brighton and back to Walthamstow in a single day. Blimey, that's a good old stretch, isn't it? Propitious. Thank you, Audrey. And Morton says, the sun has been truant. I notice this writer uses a lot of personification. Personification. He does it really well. Persiflage. Is that it? Persiflage? Persiflage. Excellent. Bit of Percy. I like that word. I wonder how else you would use it. Slightly contemptuous. I've forgotten how he used it now. Persiflage. Where? I can't find where it was. To go back. Come with me through the old Stein into some. Come with me through old Stein, 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 Steiny Stein, 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 and Stein, into some of the narrow streets and passages. In one of them, hears the echoes. In them, one hears the echoes and gets the feeling of the past centuries. The lore of the coaching days is in the air, in every nook, in every twist of the cobbled courtyards. In Pavilion Street, Sun Street and Princes Street are red-tiled, gabled cottages and shops which look like slices out of the novel of Charles Dickens. A cobbled court next to Liverpool Arms in Gloucester Place leads to a mellow backwater which holds one of the most charming little red brick houses in the town. A little further away is the Old King and Queen Inn. It is now an indescribable architectural hodgepodge with a sorry stucco facade, but it faces the modern world insolently, as if saying, I am standing here in spite of your electricity and petrol. My oak beams will carry my weight as long as your modern houses will last. Nothing will ever budge me but fire and the hand of the housebreaker. And I think that's probably very true. It's a shame they knocked it down last week. No, I'm joking. I don't think I think it's still there, isn't it? In Bishop's Brighton in olden times, there are some interesting details concerning this old inn about 1779. We learn that it was originally a farmhouse in a purely agricultural district, the hill that slopes to the east and northeast being cornland and downs. Gosh, how dare they build on farmland? I feel a video coming on. I shall walk up there and rattle my fist and talk about new builds in 1779. Towards the end of the 18th century, how dare they? Even down to so lately as 1807 to 10, the ground in front of the King and Queen, known as the Level, for during the races in 1807, a Mr. Polito, designated as the modern... I'll read that again because I'm trying to read this old Brighton in olden times quote. Even down to so lately as 1807 to 1810, the ground in front of the King and Queen was known as the Level. For during the races in 1807, a Mr. Polito, designated as the modern Noah, announced the exhibition of his lingerie on the Level near the King and Queen. In alluding to this wonderful menagerie, a chronicler says, The proprietor, highly to his credit, will not suffer any animal or bird to be called by any other than its real name. John Fuller, who passed off twopence banknotes for £2 notes on illiterate countrymen, was lodged at the King and Queen in 1811. He was taken from the inn to stand in the pillory at the bottom of North Street. Bishop writes, a pillory... hang on, is this the bishop? Yes. A pillory was fixed upon the platform about 10 feet by 12 feet from the ground. It was computed that over 5,000 persons witnessed the spectacle, every shop in the neighbourhood being closed. Fuller stood in the pillory for an hour, from 12 o'clock till 1, exposed to the gibes and taunts of the unsympathizing crowd, to whom he, poor wretch, had naught to say. 'Twas not his speechifying day. No pelting took place, public notice having been issued that it was illegal and would be punished with imprisonment. There was, of course, much excitement. Fuller became almost black in the face before the hour had expired, but no serious disturbance occurred, thanks to the prudent arrangements of the under-sheriff, G. Palmer, Esquire. Palmer? My name's Palmer. Harry Palmer. Little quote there from the Ipcris file. Who, with his officers, was present, as were also the High Constable of Brighton, Mr. Harry Colburn, the headboroughs, etc., not forgetting old Billy Catlin the Beadle, who put Fuller through his facings. It's an interesting phrase there, put him through his facings, as opposed to put him through his pacings. I wonder if that's an older version of the same phrase. About 1820, the King and Queen Inn abutted on the Brighton Barracks between North Road and Church Street. Something still remains of the old barracks, a quaint old barrack room with red-tiled roof and wooden dormer ventilators. It will be found a little way up the narrow street leading from North Road to the public baths. Advancing into the yard, there will be seen a new corporation workshop built up flush with the back part of the King and Queen. At a hole in the wall near this spot, soldiers confined to the barracks managed to secure a secret supply of beer. Bishop writes, the hole, was about 10 inches square, and on the King and Queen side was covered by an iron door, and it is to be seen even now in the present pantry of the hotel, which was formerly the tap cellar. The whole doubtless owed its original to some thirsty, inventive genius. There was only a wall between him and his beer, and, happy thought, if he could not get the latter over the wall, he at least might get some through it. But the best laid schemes of mice and men gang aft a glee. Whether the secret was blown or other causes mitigated against it, the hole in the wall, at least on the barrack side, was effectively closed some time previous to the barracks being removed. I'm going to just pause there for a second because I'm just going to see if we can find the pub and have a quick look at it. I think that would be quite good. What's it called? The King and Queen on, I think, did he say North Street? Let's have a look on Google Street View, because that would be quite fun, wouldn't it? It may not be fun to you, but for me it would be hilarious fun and great entertainment. So let's just see if we can get to Brighton. I'll let you see what I'm doing. Here we go, Kemp Town, Brighton. The levels, let's see, the levels are somewhere. Where's the levels? The levels are here, aren't they? There's Old Steen Gardens, Royal Pavilion. This is the levels, isn't it? If I remember rightly. Just reading some of the signs. The King and Queen pub. Is the King and Queen pub there? We've gone past the level. Now here we are. These are the levels. If I remember, that's the levels. Anyway, let's see if we can take a jaunt up here. I'm not sure that it's up this one. Carolina. Oh, that's what I was thinking of. Maybe it's... I think it's further back, isn't it? Further back? Oh, Marlborough Road, BN1, 1UB. Thank you very much. Got to get out of that. BN1, 1UB. Come on, little Google thing. Let's just do that search again. I don't know why I'm getting a black. Have I crashed it? Sorry about this. Try it again. Try it again. Google Maps. Google Maps. Right, it's centered on Worthing. Always does that because that's where I live. Right, let's put this in. BN1. What did you say it was? Put King and Queen Brighton into Wikipedia. Yeah, I just wanted to see if I can see it from the road. Hang on. BN1, 1UB. Right, 1UB. It's just very... I want to do this quite quickly, but I don't understand. Marlborough Place. Marlborough Place. Oh, here we go. So there's the... What's the name? Here it is. Here it is. Here we go. There we are, look. I thought it was further up. I don't know why. Yeah, it's a strange old building, isn't it? Anyway, there it is. Marvellous. How exciting. Thanks for that. It's a mock Tudor building. Yes, it is, isn't it? It's horrible. It's actually quite horrible. But there we are, lifestyle. Beautiful looking building. No, I don't know. I think it's a mishmash. Did he not say it was a hodgepodge? He said it was a hodgepodge, didn't he? Right, a few days ago, a curious desire possessed me to see the hole in the wall, and did in fact still exist. I found my way into a small stone-flagged yard beside the King and Queen, now a motor garage. Is it now a motor garage? Hang on. Where's my mouse? This is the great thing, isn't it? Let's see. Well, it can't be that side. Does he mean... Oh, here, look. That must have been the motor garage. As was. And so presumably the hole in the wall is somewhere... Is that the wall there, do you suppose? Could be, couldn't it? Because that's the only place you could have. That must have been the motor garage back in its day. Fascinating. How fascinating. Not very, I think the word is. Right, okay. A few years, yes. So it's now a motor garage. I found myself in a courtyard. Here we go, yes. A small... And did in fact exist. I found my way into a small stone-flagged yard by the side of the King and Queen, now motor garage, which promised to lead me to the rear of the inn, and met with a pleasant surprise. I found myself in a small courtyard, as curious as any it has been for my lot to set foot in. Above me was a queer little tier of bedrooms, which must have been there when the courtyard was spacious, and cock-fighting below was not an unfrequent spectacle. Stepping into one of the large outhouses in the corner of the yard, I found the tap cellar mentioned by Bishop, and there was the hole in the wall, just as he described in 1880. A trivial discovery, I will grant, but for those who treasure such fragments of the past, it is here set down for remembrance. Richard, your mouse is on the desk, the cursor is on the screen. Your mouse is on the desk, the cursor is on the screen. Yes, my mouse is here. Is it interrupting you? What do you mean? I can see both. Right. Oh, I see what you mean. That's called a mouse, and the other is called the cursor. All right, Mrs. Pedantic. You do not meet the quaint street characters so often in these days as you did 20 years ago. Or I don't know. Have you been to Brighton recently? The race of street freaks has been wiped out by the attrition of dense motor traffic and new methods of street control. Bear in mind, this was written in and published in 1928. And he's saying the dense motor traffic and the new methods of street control. 100 years has passed, pretty much, or 92 years has passed. And what he would have made of it now, I do not know. However, I found one of the old sort the other evening in the Druid's Head at Brighton Place. Where's Brighton Place? Give me the address of that and we'll look it up. You don't know the Druid's Head? It's a small harbour of refuge of Sussex carriers in the heart of Brighton. A humble and homely little inn, but one of those curious places that's well worth a visit. Julia says I'm teasing. Yes, I realise that eventually. 9 Brighton Place. Thank you very much, Sean Cameron, who's on the ball tonight. Let's have a quick look, see if we can find that without crashing it. 9, what's the postcode? BN1 1JH. Where's the keyboard? I always move the keyboard because it's in the way. BN1 9JH, did you say? 1JH. 1HJ, in fact. I just reversed that round the wrong way, didn't I? Just for the fun of it. So not so far away. Brighton Place. Oh, hang on a minute. There's a picture here. Let's go to the imagery. Is this Brighton Place? Brighton Place. What are we looking for? A little pub called, I've forgotten already, the Druid's Head. Brighton Place. It's changed, not up that end, is it? Nip down here a little bit. In the lanes, basically. Oh, here, hang on. What's this one? The Market Inn. The Market Inn. That looks like a dodgy old pub. Or is it... Oh, D. What's that for then? D, is that the Druids? Oh, no, something else. Anyway, somewhere down the lanes, you can imagine it back 100 years ago. A bit murky old place. Good stuff. Edward Thomas made similar complaints even earlier, says Andrew Norris. Yes, that it was getting busy with motor cars and the change of pace. I mean, everybody moans about the change of pace, don't we? We all put up with it, sadly. Anyway, so there he is. I stood at the bar groping about my pockets for a box of matches. I have 14 pockets, but I'm never certain which one contains my matches. It is a hereditary failing in me. None of my ancestors could ever find their flints and steels. However, as I say, I fumbled with ineffective fingers without result. Then a low voice came to my ears. "Try your hip pocket, governor. Small metal box. Had me eye on you. Knew you were a loser from the start." That's interesting. Also, that's an interesting turn of phrase. Knew you were a loser. We think of that as being quite a modern day expression, don't we? It was being used 92 years ago. I looked up and met the eye of a round, ruby-faced little man, a veritable goblin with elfish eyes and a rakish wreck of a Panama hat on his head. Was he a doom goblin? Try your hip pocket, he repeated, and leaned against the bar, one finger on his nose like a puck-like vermilion beak. I dived into it and found the elusive box. Then it suddenly dawned on me that Panama hat had not only told me where to find the box, but he had also divined that it was metal and nickel-plated. That seemed a trifle uncanny. Well, you've rather set me thinking, I said to him. How did you know the box was nickel-plated, a nickel-plated one, before you saw it? It was under such circumstances that the Panama hat confessed that he had a way of finding things. I've never boasted about it, he said to me, but it's God's truth that I can find lost things where others fail. You're a loser. I'm a finder. Ah, that kind of loser. That's all there is to it. Perhaps it will explain things in a bit more if I tell you it's part of my business. Or should I say, once, I was a dowser, a water finder. This rather surprised me, for the misty voice from under the Panama hat suggested the quest of some liquid a little more potent. Yes, he resumed, it's queer about me and hidden things. I walk right up to them. If my missus loses her purse, I always know where it is. I sit in my armchair and tell her the exact spot where it's to be found. It's the same with water. You don't happen to know anything about the wand of Mercury, do you know? Do you, governor? I confessed my ignorance. Well, this wand is a forked stick of hazel, and it was used for the purpose of finding water on farms and such-like places. People don't believe in it now, but when I was a young man, even civil officers employed water diviners. I travelled about the country doing odd jobs on the land and working at well sinking. I never made a mistake about finding a concealed spring. I'd just take the rod and hold it suspended by the prongs between the balls of my thumb and walk slowly. Suddenly I'd feel it give a tug, and I could tell that running water was pulling at it. No uncertainty about it, mind you. Where the stick pulled, the well was sunk, 20 foot down, and there we found water. No glory to me about it. It was just something inside me that was different to other folk. Something tuned into the water, I reckon, like a kind of radio wave. You don't happen to know anyone who wants to find water, do you, governor? No, I assured him. You see, we've had so much rain lately that it's been difficult to avoid finding water. But all the same, I'd like to see the way that you find a lost article. Now, suppose I go outside into Brighton Place and hide this matchbox and leave it for you to discover. No, said the water wizard regretfully. Sorry, but that would not be the right thing. You lose a thing fair and square, and I'll find it. I daren't fiddle about with the game for fun. I don't pretend to be religious like governor, but there's something just floating at the back of my mind that tells me never to use my powers unless you really need them. It's a gift from someone who means it to be used seriously. You understand, don't you, governor? I nodded and invited him to join me in the Druid Head's revelries. When he departed, he later walked away with a lightning mincing step in the manner of a ballet dancer. His feet seemed to move with a youthful spring. But he was not bound by the limits of youth or of age. There was some strange quality about him that was incorruptible. I cannot bring myself to believe that he was born of woman. I rather think he was found in a ring of toadstools on the downs. Neither do I believe that he walked across Brighton Place like a human being when the doors of the Druid's Head closed behind him. I am firmly convinced that the fairies were waiting for him, and he linked hands with them and vanished. As I have remarked before, I suppose Brighton etches a different picture on each man's memory. There are half a million Brightons treasured up by people all over the world, and yet no two are alike. For each Brighton lover, there is some corner or aspect of the old town which springs up in his memory, not as a cold topographical landmark, but as a motive of the heart. I've been trying to express my own Brighton credo, but I find it difficult to say just what my Brighton would embrace. Now, let me think. It would take in the crazy toy buildings of the lanes between Duke Street and the Town Hall, where delightful little bookshops are to be discovered. It would include the gallery tea lounge at Sherry's and the glass-fronted buffet on the end of the Palace Pier. It would note the clubroom of the Society of Sussex Downsmen in the Queen's Road, where the brothers Farr have established a Downland museum. It would not forget the queer little theatre on the West Pier, where one obtains entrance to the promenade and a tip-up seat in the circle for sixpence. It would include, but I'm giving away my most innermost secrets. You must come and discover Brighton for yourself. And one thing that you may be certain, Brighton will receive you graciously and will provide a stimulating background for all your moods. I have spoken of Brighton's smuggling records elsewhere, but I think that just here is the place to print two curious little verses which touched upon the robustious free trade days, especially as they also allude to the beach donkeys which have been so long a somewhat piteous feature of the seafront. It appears that the Brighton donkeys were formerly used for carrying smuggled goods at night, and a local poet taking this into consideration managed to combine the fact with a subtle compliment to the fair sex as follows. Though Balaam's ass. I think that would be the donkey. Though Balaam's ass got many a thwack, yet was his fortune rare. He bore a prophet on his back and saw an angel fair. Is not your fortune far more bright, ye Brighton donkeys say, who carries spirits every day and angels every... I ballsed that up badly. I'm sorry. Let me read that again. Get this right, because I transposed one line to another. Though Balaam's ass got many a thwack, yet his fortune... I've done it again. Though Balaam's ass got many a thwack, yet was his fortune rare. He bore a prophet on his back and saw an angel fair. Is not your fortune far more bright, ye Brighton donkeys say, who carry spirits every night and angels every day? Got it. The above verse was written in 1859 and has not since been printed. I think they are worthy of a place in any Sussex anthology. And there, at 10 to 5, we will rest, for we come to the end of that one. And the next chapter is Sir Austin Chamberlain's Sussex Home, wherever that is. But we will find that. In a Cross in Hands, is it? Just trying to see. Anyway, what do you think? Have you enjoyed it? It's quite fun, isn't it? It's quite a fun little old book. Quite like these little books. It's a little reminiscent of people like H.V. Morton and what have you. Sorry about the appalling poem readings. We should have first met up there for Bald Explorer, says James. And let's go back and see what you're talking about, because I've clearly missed a few bits. King and Brighton, rebuilt 1931. Oh, was it? So that's interesting. So when he saw it, it was this timber frame building. Ah. Ipcris file, classic Richard. Yes, there we go. Glad someone got it. Love the theme to the Ipcris file as Michael Caine is making breakfast, if you remember the film. To force one to demonstrate one's skill in a particular area, usually in a grueling manner. Is that the word that I've forgotten what the word was now? See if the illegal booze hole is there, please. Yes, I couldn't really make out to see if you couldn't get into it. Facings were military colours. I wonder if the phrase has military origins. Ah, yes, next to the old BBC Radio Brighton studios. Yes, I remember those. I once did an interview was interviewed in the BBC Brighton Radio studios when I first started podcasting in 2000. Well, wait a minute. No, I don't think it was there. No, I was doing an interview years earlier. That's true. Yes, I think something to do with one of my mime shows on that corner. Very unusual place. Lovely old building. They don't broadcast from there now, do they? They're much nearer the station, if I remember rightly, which I've also been interviewed in. Lifestyle Channel, we should have the first meet-up there. In the pub? Brighton would be a terrible place to go and meet up with all these people. Mock Tudor, yes, there we go. I've blah, blah, blah. Lifestyle Channel 9. Oh, yes, so we got to there. Edward Thomas had complaints. There is a patron saint of lost items. Is there? That doesn't surprise me. Enjoyed the reading. Lifestyle Channel, nice little read that. Facing Edward. Yes, facing Richard. Great. Feedback from the podcast this morning. Wouldn't mind the podcast being audio, says Sean. Mime on the radio, love it. Often do a bit of mime on the radio. Yeah, I think that was why they got me in to do a bit of mime. I was running something called Le Troisième Etage. Well, we used to call it Le Troisième Etage, but its official name was the Third Floor Mime Company. And we did a thing called Tiny Aeroplanes, and that was the main feature. And the B feature was... what was the B? There was this man of clay. Oh, I can't remember. Can't remember what the B feature was called off the top of it. Anyway, and we went in there and did an interview, if I remember, back in... Well, that would have been... When would that have been? Probably 86, 87, somewhere around there. Anyway, that's it for today. That's it for this week on the readings. I'll keep you posted about what we're going to do next week, and if I move the dates. I need to think about it. It's just something that came up. It may well be that next week we'll stick to this. The following week I'm going to be away. The lovely Julia and I are going to Wales. I've got an interview with this chap that I was supposed to interview about a month or so ago, and then we're going to see Floating Our Boat, Richard and Fran, who are now no longer in Wales, so won't be too far away, but we're going to be in a high up place in the middle of absolutely nowhere, just for 2 nights. I think it's 2 nights. Can't remember now. Anyway, yeah, and then then nearly the following week we go on in early October. So the reading is going to be a bit whatever. We're nearly halfway through the book, so maybe we can finish this book towards the end of next week or the week after. Anyway, there we go. It's great. If you've got any recommendations for books to read, nice old ones with sort of with that travelling theme. Ideally, I like that because that's what the Bald Explorer is about. The sort of, rather than just pure fiction, something with a sense of travel. But it needs to be relatively old, in the 30s or something, to get away from current copyright. Or it may be that we infringe the copyright, but who's going to mind? The author may be too old or dead, but not dead long enough, and the estate aren't bothered because it's an obscure book. So, whatever. Anyway, thank you very much. Take care, look after yourselves, and I will see you next week. Tomorrow there is a video which will be part 2 of the walk that I did today. And tonight there is the Vogue show. We've got a lot of videos to show in tonight's Vogue show, so join me then. Take care, and thanks for listening. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye. Got to work out to turn this off.